It is about the veterans, not him. Richard Eden will star opposite Harry in the latest Netflix series. Hello and welcome to the Princess Diana News Channel. According to Daily Mail diary editor Richard Eden, Harry's decision to star in this new Netflix movie about wounded soldiers leaves a bitter taste in the mouth, and I think he's absolutely right. So he wrote in his last letter in the Palace Confidential letter and praised the work of the Invictus Game. Now it's a multi-sport event established by the prince back in 2014, but he is incredibly critical of Harry's decision to turn the spotlight back on himself and his own complaints. I think it's interesting what Richard Eden wrote. So he wrote, sadly, from what I have seen at the series, which was released by the American streaming giant on Wednesday. Using this priceless opportunity to talk about himself again, he went on to say, I would like to have seen them follow a couple of servicemen and women and tell their experiences and what adjustments they had to make to their lives on return and show how they trained for the games and what the games meant to them, and all Harry had to say was he understood and empathized with their PD and left it at that. He's right. We didn't need to see Harry going to meet the organizers, we don't need to see him supported by Meghan, or we don't need to see him at all. We don't need to hear the problems Harry claims to have. He could have spent valuable time talking about what these men and women go through in their daily struggles and the significant impact this game has had on their lives. I thought that was what the show was about, but Harry just used it as an excuse to talk about his problems. It's not just Harry and Meghan, but they still don't seem to get it. Richard Eden and I had the same thought. Everything Harry said was painful because I thought that was who he was now. The coming-of-age documentary is part of the Netflix deal. Harry gets paid for it. It's not about the charity and the recipient, and while I mean it's a truly honorable and worthy cause, it's unfortunate that Harry undermines his authority every time. He used it as a forum to express personal grievances and problems. Harry really wanted to promote the cause, which he should. Then he should focus on the military personnel who, in spite of really terrible physical injuries and desperate mental health issues, have managed to succeed in turning their lives around. You know, maybe Harry could take a page out of their book. He has been and continues to be in an overly privileged position compared to every single one of these servicemen and women. Harry really needs to look inside himself, and he needs to think about what it says about him that he chooses to use these interviews that are supposed to be about petty personal grievances instead of the real people it's supposed to be about. If anybody doubted that Harry's Invictum's mission has its limits in terms of importance to him personally, well, I think this proves that beyond a shadow of a doubt. If Harry really were as genuine and real as he wants us to think, then he would have used every spare moment to promote those brave servicemen and women that he couldn't resist complaining about his own lot in life, and it's a documentary about war-torn veterans. Harry wasn't that stupid, to be honest. He knew how wrong it was. Harry can't resist a chance to dig a little at his family. This is why he told the documentary makers that he had no support network around him and that his mother's death was never brought up. Be that as it may, Richard even concludes that Harry has made similar comments before on a TV show that is supposedly disgusting. The competition at the Invictus Games leaves a bitter taste, and I agree with him 100%. I'm sure you always do too, said Harry, for although he had said there was no help for him years ago, he said it was his brother William who encouraged him to seek treatment. His story changes to make him a victim. I really think there was never any talk of Diana dying because Harry didn't want it. I guess he wasn't cooperating. I'm sure people tried to talk to him about it. Richard Eden also pointed out that Harry's claims that he had no support were unfounded. He said this sentence many times, but he grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth. In reality, a silver spoon, and now he's just lying about how many murders he's committed. But the truth is, Harry was safe aboard an Apache helicopter just a few miles from the front lines. He wasn't just a hero. Harry seems really lacking in empathy, doesn't he? I mean, doesn't he have sympathy for the families of the men who served with him, the families who were affected, the people who are now permanently unprotected by the elite military security detail, perhaps like some of the men who served in your time? I noticed that this was because Harry never participated in actual battles. Instead, he spent most of his time at camp playing video games. But I agree with Richard Eden that it's really annoying that Harry is all about himself here again. I mean, couldn't she have ruled it out as an idea for once? There is nothing wrong with creating and working hard for what he claims, and both are certainly worthy charities. Charity's shown to be selfless, but Harry doesn't understand that he's actually making charity look bad by using this documentary to talk about him. It should be about the injuries and their resilience to carry on. I mean, Harry, it's your idea for once. Please give others a chance to shine. We do see how self-centered he is. Harry is such an immature man, honey. All he does is keep talking about himself and how hard his life is. Harry, we don't feel sorry for you. Why do we need this? I hope he can act like a real man and take responsibility for his actions and stop blaming others for his problems. Harry, I know your IQ may not be that high, so I just need to keep a low profile and you can finally enjoy the privacy you mentioned. I mean, the more you talk, the less impressive you seem. You make yourself look bad every time you get a chance to complain about how hard your life is and that the only person who matters is you. People don't like to hear that. We all know that Harry's mother sadly passed away when he was very young. Yes, it's terrible. But the truth was that he was not alone in the millions of mothers who died young, but in his world it only happened to him. He is the victim, and this only happens to him because Harry cannot resist the temptation to connect his perceived truth to any cause that comes his way. Thus, by adopting the qualities of others, Harry takes on a sense of authenticity. I'm sure a lot of people in the military are very angry about what Harry did. I couldn't imagine if I had been injured in combat. I would feel disrespected if Harry showed up and expected everyone to be so grateful to him. Maybe he needs to focus on his family life with Meghan. Recently, she posed on the dashboard. I don't think this bodes well for the future of this marriage, and I find it interesting that Harry always tries so hard to present himself as a generic good guy. But it's clear that Harry believes the world revolves around him. He only cares about making money. I know he thinks he's fooling everyone, but he's not very good at it. I'm just tired of seeing him and hearing about him. He was a good friend of mine who served in the army and in Afghanistan. He said he received a lot of care from other people there. I think Harry is making up his story as he goes along. It doesn't make sense, he always contradicts himself. We always hear about poor Harry. This is very difficult for him. Many service members never returned from Afghanistan, and many of us lost parents. But we don't always complain either. Everyone is concerned about the issues we face, but as for Harry, it's still about him. He has shown us time and time again that he has no care or sympathy for others. He only cares about himself and maybe Meghan. But even then, I'm not sure. I wonder when the organizers of the Invictus Games will realize that Harry is not doing this for his veterans and for himself. The sooner the organizers get away from Harry, the better for the organization. Harry doesn't care about the former soldiers, he only cares about himself, and while the Invictus Games is a really admirable concept, we shouldn't be praising Harry for his creativity in coming up with the idea, as he attended the 2013 Warrior Games in the United States and saw a British team taking part, and here he came to idea. He deserves credit from now on because I don't think this would have happened if he hadn't endorsed Prince Harry of Wales and the Queen. I think it gave Harry a chance, but at the same time it doesn't give him the right to say everything about himself alone. What do you think of Harry? Please let me know what you think in the comments below. If you think my video is helpful, don't be afraid, I can share it with your friends and family and they will also love it, and don't forget to subscribe to the Price Diana News channel for more updates in the future. Thank you so much for watching, good night, and we'll be back with you tomorrow.